So the first question that I had was about the report. And so I wanted to talk through that a little bit about, there was a business focused listing and then an IT focused listing on unstructured data management. So I thought you could talk me through that a little bit and how you guys segmented it and how you defined that exactly.
Well, there are two reasons actually. One is because some enterprises, some organizations are not ready to think about data management at the business level, but they are more focused on the infrastructure level. And the other one is that the solutions available in the market are so different that it was very difficult to build a radar just for unstructured data management. So we have to split in two categories. The difference is actually that infrastructure focused solutions are much more related to infrastructure. They look at aspects of the infrastructure that are more around the storage management in from the data perspective. So we are talking about tiering, we are talking about functionality, mostly to look at the TCO of the infrastructure. Okay, so we don't look into the data itself, but we reorganize the data to save money and to understand better where this data is, how much data we have, what we are doing with it, etc., etc. But we are not looking into the data. Actually, some solutions are more sophisticated and can look into the data, or at least go beyond the metadata. So and start giving information. So to also other personas in the organization. Think about, for example, the CDO that is very common in Europe. So the Chief Data Officer. Okay, it doesn't really need to know where the data is stored. Actually, it needs to know it for sovereignty and other issues like that. But actually, it's more important to know if you're storing personal information or if you're storing files that you shouldn't store anymore because policy, because of regulations or whatever. So there are data management solutions that are much more focused on giving you business insight and compliance and governance kind of information. So this is why we split the market. Was it too long? Well, you can cut it later.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so just to sum, so the infrastructure segment, again, related to storage management tiering, and then the business segment focused more on the CDO
Content.
needs.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, CDO needs and more focused on the content. So you
Okay.
can very easily give
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
The first is more on the data storage, and the second is more on the data content.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so next question is, I guess it almost relates to the answer you just gave, but are we seeing a separation of data management from storage management? I mean, I know that we talk about that in the vendor world, and analysts sometimes talk about that, but at the customer side of things, are they looking at it differently? What are you seeing?
So the customers, yes. I mean, first of all, it really depends on the size of the data under management, so on the volume of data and the type of company. So there are differences, and also the size of the company as well. So in very large companies, you have both infrastructure and business focused solutions now. They are much more mature. They have regulations. They have many more needs than in the past. They are creating huge amounts of data, and they really need to understand what they are doing with it, why, how. There are security implications. Very massive now security implications, and so on. So that's very true for the large organization. Small organization has smaller needs. Just they don't need all of it. In many cases, they just need to save money. So they look at how to optimize the infrastructure, how to optimize data to use less of these, cloud resources or, on-premises resources, or use them better. So depending on the kind of user, you can really find different. There is a general maturation in the market, so it's not only the size, but if you look at a few years back, even the large organizations were not ready to manage large amounts of unstructured data. Now they really understand the need, and they want to understand what they are storing, why, and how. So that's a huge difference between a few years back. So maturation is there.
Yeah. And is it just because of the rate of growth that now the larger organizations are finally saying we have to manage this strategically or differently than how we've done it before?
Well, totally. I mean, so for many, every company is now a data company. We always say this. So not understanding your data, not understanding your assets is critical. I mean, it's a huge risk for your entire business. Think about the fact that you have some data stored in a remote location. You don't know if it is protected or not, for example, if you have a copy of it, if it's really relevant for your business, if it contains data that you shouldn't store in that location because it's just not secure. Maybe you are storing all your customer information in a plain text file open to everybody. I mean, is it something that you would like for your company? Probably not. And now, with all these kind of attacks, cyber attacks that many companies are experiencing, because we always talk about ransomware, but actually, before the ransomware happens, I mean, the visible part of the ransomware attack, we had the hacker that had introduced code in our system months ago. So, and this code maybe opened also, other doors, and they are, looking at our data before encrypting it. They are copying it. All this information trickling away and, sold to competition or sold to bad actors, whatever. We don't want it, right? So that's another aspect that is huge.
Let's see. So along those same lines, the traditional storage IT roles in a large enterprise have not really had much interaction with the data professionals, the analysts, the data scientists, people that are the CDO, etc. Do you think that is going to be changing, or is it already changing in terms of those teams working together more closely on initiatives?
So yes and no. I mean, infrastructure-focused data management, it's something that even the most traditional of enterprise system administration are evaluating now. But for business-focused data management, we really have to talk with other personas in the organization. So as you mentioned, CDOs and CIOs, sometimes COOs and CFOs also. So it's more an executive. So it's much more related to business functions, and so I see that, of course, the operator is the same, but actually the person that adopts and that needs really to understand this technology is not in the infrastructure.
Yeah.
But it is interesting also to say, and I don't know if you want to add this, that CDOs in some companies have very large budgets, and they are craving for finding solution for data management.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's when I talk. I mean, at least in Europe, with all the regulation that we have, like GDPR, and the bank industry is heavily regulated here. All the government, especially in the healthcare, that we have to keep all the history of any single citizen for several years after death. So this is very complex and very structured environments. They really need to to understand better how to manage all this information. And I mean, I'm impressed every time I look at my clinical history. I think we have something, probably you have something similar, but you know, how they keep track of all my clinical history. I can go back years and years, and there are, you know, all the exams that I did, all the X-rays, everything. I mean, they have everything, and they keep all of it. And I'm one of, you know, 60 million people in this country.
I don't know. The health IT space here is still very immature, I'll have to say. When I go to the doctor, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of work to be done.
I'm quite impressed about, you know, the amount of information they are storing about every single citizen. And if you think about privacy, if you think about you know, all the, you know, security and stuff, so that's really critical.
Yeah. And just to finish up this question on the people side of the thing, storage people, do you think that their jobs are changing much? I mean, now they are needing to know more about the cloud, and of course, but any other aspects of that role that you have seen?
Well, in general, it's changing because infrastructure is less relevant than in the past. I mean, so everything is becoming more automated, easier to use. So you don't have the same amount of, you know, very skilled engineers that are able to split the bit in two. Or, I mean, this is a way of saying it in Italy. I don't know if that's similar but we are talking about, you know, very, very skilled engineer with a deep knowledge of the storage systems, of the infrastructure, how to build it, how to tune it. But actually, with all the automation that many vendors have introduced, this is less important somehow, and they have to anyway, you know, to grow and to learn more about the data they are storing and more about the how the application are interacting with the data. So yes, it's not only because of the cloud, but because the data and you know, how we use it is changed in the past few years. So and again, cloud is important. So the same data is treated differently when it's stored in the cloud or on premises. So it's more important to understand how we are working with this data than just, you know, how the single bits are stored in the repository.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy about the data. You know, the data aspect, and we're, you know, a lot of our conversations with customers, it's still such a focus on, you know, saving money and performance and kind of the old things. But
I think that it really depends. I mean, so the problem is today, and this is very, very common for other vendors. So the low-hanging fruit, okay, maybe is the infrastructure focused unstructured data management, because of course you are talking with, you know, people that understand storage, so this is a storage management thing. It's okay, but actually as soon as you can show the value of this technology to other, you know, personas in the organization, and the problem is how do I contact these other personas, okay, and how to start the conversation, how to show the benefits. That's the challenging part, and it happens with many vendors. I mean, so yeah. I'm helping some of them to rethink a few things, and on how to, you know, work with these people, and you know, it's complicated. Think about a company like NetApp, for example. They always talk at infrastructure, and even their sales guys now they have, you know, a lot of cloud products. They are not actually talking with DevOps guys. They are not talking with FinOps guys, and they don't know how to do it. And so these guys talk a totally different language.
Yeah.
And so they are not talking they are not even talking about data. They don't think about data in the sense of, you know, files and so on. Data for them is something that can give an insight on you know, on the market or whatever, but not, it's not a Word file or it's not a PDF file for them. So
Yeah.
it's a totally different conversation.
More focused on the data versus the file types.
Business outcomes, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So of course, another aspect of the cloud that is happening is, you know, making data available to AI and ML tools, whether that's a Snowflake or AWS Comprehend, you know, or all the other services that are now available. Do you think that that is becoming a driver of moving data to the cloud, or is it more of an afterthought at this point?
Enterprises that are starting to think about using AI and ML more broadly, okay, it's not as easy as some of the cloud vendors are, you know, showing us, but to make it relevant for your business, you have to be sure to select the right amount of data, create the right data set, and move it or show it to the cloud. Okay. If you're not able to understand your data, what are you moving? So think about a large, well, a customer of mine. They have 8,000 lawyers distributed across the world. Okay. And they produce documents every day. Every single day they produce documents, they read documents and whatever. So they can make use of the AI and ML to understand all these documents, not to replicate documents all the time, not make mistakes on the past, check if these documents are, you know, are well formatted or whatever. So to avoid any sort of issue later, okay? And but how are they going to select these documents, the proper document? So think about. I mean, I want all the PDF files that include, I don't know, I don't know, a contract of a certain type. Okay, how do you do it without the proper data management tool? You can't pick documents from 8,000 lawyers created in probably in different languages just by selecting one by one. You need something that is intelligent enough. And this is also why you are seeing more and more of these kind of query languages that simplify the life of administrators, and so the business owner asks, I want all the documents that have these characteristics. Create a data set that I need this data set to run some AI, some ML, some big analytics workloads. This is becoming more common as a question, and then I'm talking about query language, but it could be, you know, a system of filters or whatever, but something that simplify the search and retrieve of this file from many locations and consolidate them virtually or physically. Something that we described a few years back in our key criteria reports.